I am honored to introduce a mentor and teacher of mine, a rabbi and leader of our movement, who has been at the forefront at our fight for justice and equality. Rabbi Jonah Pesner is Senior Vice President of the Union for Reform Judaism, and he's also the director of the Religious Action Center here in DC. At a time when democracy itself is under threat, Rabbi Pesner is a guiding voice for action and moral leadership. Rabbi Pesner.
I think you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love you, WRJ. I love you, Rabbi Liz P.G. Hirsch. And I love you, Rabbi Marla J. Feldman. Student assistant rabbi at the Village Temple in 1984 who told me to go on Litaken at the rack. Well, Shabbat Shalom. I am Rabbi Jonah Pesner. I use the he, him pronouns, and I love you, women of Reform Judaism. And thank you. I love you right back. There is a lot of power in this room. Everybody say power. Power. I'm feeling it. You feeling it? Yeah. All right. We can do this, can we not? There is power in this room because of the largest gathering of the Reform Jewish movement's women social justice leaders in history. 250 plus of you in this room, representing 25 states in these United States. And where are my sisters from Canada? I'm gonna talk a lot about American democracy in peril. I'm not going to talk a lot about Israeli democracy in peril because Elise Kirshen did a great job of saying what to say. We got democracy in peril over there. We got democracy in peril up there. But what happens to our democracy has a direct impact as what happens in our North American family, our Canadian family. So thank you to our Canadian sisters for being here. Any of our Israeli sisters in the house? I know I saw early before. I know Anna's going to be here. So we are one global movement. I am so deeply honored to be part of the power in this room, the 2 million souls who follow us and are part of this movement. Thank you to Rabbi Hirsch. Thank you to Rabbi Feldman. It is an honor to be speaking at this inaugural Rabbi Marla J. Feldman conference. I'm also just invoking the name of Karen Sims, your beloved president, who is still in mourning. I know Shoshana Dweck, who we heard from earlier, is also in mourning. I've heard there's another board member who's in mourning. So let the power of our movement not only be for social change, but also for the healing of our beloved community when we are in pain. We are so proud at the RAC to be your partner in this work of social justice as we lean into a world which is parched with oppression, but which we know can be overflowing with justice if we do the work. What you all do back home, when you engage, when you organize, when you invest, the Yes Fund, which enables so much, we can win and fight here in the nation's capital, but also in your home communities. Your work has very concrete outcomes, and the Yes Fund in particular, which enables a legislative assistant who full-time works on gender equity, women's rights, abortion, and Jessica Cadmus is standing in the back. We love you, Jessica. Thank you to all of the women who have invested. I'm looking at you, Betsy. I'm looking at all of you for investing. We love you. And I know Rachel Landis is here, a former WRJLA. Rachel is here. I know Allie Carpel may not be here. Where is she? Oh. Allie, Jonah's talking about you and you're not in the room. But her mother is here. And, all right, because we're very inclusive, we love our LAs, we love our URJ staff, and Jacob Greenblatt is not here at the moment, but his mother is. Okay, so I'm telling you, y'all are investing in the work in multiple ways. Let's just put it that way. Thank you for the generation of leadership that you have raised up. And so many of you showed up in the last election. Rabbi Hirsch already invoked every voice, every vote. When you all canvassed and you called and you postcarded and you texted and you rallied and you spoke up and you spoke out, all to help us ensure that nearly 1 million voters had their voices heard. You should celebrate all of that. Tens of millions of people were impacted by the fact that you leaned in to protect democracy. And the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism and the Women of Reform Judaism worked together hand in hand to mobilize 8,500 volunteers who reached 155,000 voters to share the powerful ways in which our Jewish values inspire us to protect reproductive rights and abortion, which is why in Arizona, in Colorado, in Maryland, in Missouri, in Montana, in Nevada, and New York, human rights, abortion rights are codified into the constitutions of those states. Let not the story of this election be what happened in Congress and what happened in the White House. Let it be the work that you did to protect the rights of women and pregnant people to control their bodies. That's what democracy looks like, and we should celebrate your work in doing that. And this weekend, that work continues. Hine matov umanayim shevet achot gam yachad. How good and pleasant it is when this sisterhood sitting right here comes together and dwells in justice. When you all march down to Capitol Hill on Monday and advocate for the critical needs of our beloved Israel, for reproductive health and rights and democracy together, we can actually transform the world of injustice that we experience. Now, listen, I have 4 daughters. So I'm no Tevye, and I'm not even Zelophehad. How many of you know Zelophehad? How many of you know his daughters? Okay, we named one of our 4 Noah. Everybody say Noah. Because, Hogla, Tirzah, but Noah. Zelophehad's 5 daughters, led by Noah and her sisters, who, according to the book of Numbers, organized because they found out what now? When they were entering the promised land, they were not going to get their rightful ancestral lands because they did not have a male heir. And it says in our text that the daughters stepped forward and stood up. You can't make this stuff up. It's like in the Hebrew. They stepped forward and they said to Moses, "This is not right." They stood up and they said, not just to Moses, but to the elders and the tribal chieftains, and according to the text, the whole assembly, the full democracy of our Israelite ancestors. These 5 women stepped forward and stood up. And Moses went to God because he understood the power of these women. And he did not know what to do. So he asked God. And in a bit of beautiful biblical poetry, God's simple response was, "Their claim is just." My friends, when we stand up and we step forward and we speak out, we win. We get justice. And that's what we're doing here today. That's what we're going to do all over Shabbat. And that's what's going to culminate on Monday when we organize this sisterhood to speak truth to power. Our democracy, our right to vote, that is the source of our power. And we need to raise our voices like Noah and her sisters now more than ever. Do not let them silence our voices, and do not let them suppress our votes. So, Rabbi Hirsch invoked the Voting Rights Act of 1965, of which we are most proud, and we consider it ours, and it was eviscerated by the Supreme Court of the United States of America in 2013 in a Supreme Court case, Shelby v. Holder. And going off script, I want to invoke the name of one of our sisters, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who in her withering dissent, if you read the decision and then you read the dissent, it's Talmudic in its brilliance. Ruth Bader Ginsburg famously said that the logic of the court, which in essence, written by Roberts and the majority, things are better now. She said that's a lot like standing in a thunderstorm under an umbrella and saying, gee, I don't need my umbrella because I'm not getting wet. And state after state after state tried to pass more than 317 voter suppression laws, many of which have passed. And here they go again, this new administration and this Congress trying to silence our voices and not count our votes. So, one of the things we're going to be super, super clear on Monday is to tell your member of Congress, even if they agree with you, tell them and say thank you and lift your voice to your colleagues down the hall. Do not pass the so-called SAVE Act. This is a bill that would require documentary proof of citizenship, like a passport or a birth certificate, to be presented in person every time you register or even update your voter registration. Tens of millions of Americans have to do this in every cycle. It would do incredible damage to our democracy, reduce voting, reduce participation, and fuel conspiracy theories, demonizing immigrants and Jews. This bill purports to address non-citizen voter fraud, something that isn't a problem. Again and again and again, the Brennan Center proves there is no such thing. Instead, it would disenfranchise nearly 145 million Americans and think about 70 million women whose legal names don't match the names on their birth certificates, including some of you in this room. Thank you. And who will be most impacted? Low-income women, elderly women, women of color, disproportionately harmed by the bill. So we're going to stand up, we're going to step forward, and we're going to speak out. Everybody say, stand up. Stand up. Step forward. Speak out. Speak out. But let's be clear. Am I okay on time? Are you with me, people? Yes. Can I have 5 more minutes? Yes. All right, because I already went over my time. The staff in the back is all having a panic attack. Am I okay, Jessica? Am I all right? All right. I promise I will make it worth your while. Are we good? Okay. We know that this is just part of an ongoing pattern of attack on our democracy and our rights. We are seeing an attack on sacred Jewish and American principles about equal justice under law, the protection of the fundamental civil rights and civil liberties, a commitment to rejecting the dehumanization and political violence that we know threatens Jews and all people, all minorities, and upholding the checks and balances of accountability and transparency of our government. In March, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Election Assistance Commission to change the national mail voter registration form to require documentary proof of citizenship. Among other provisions, it also seeks to stop states from counting mail and absentee ballots postmarked by Election Day but received afterwards. We know exactly what this is an attempt to do. And the order, like many others, has already been challenged in federal court. By the way, think about the alignment and the strategy of demonizing immigrants, migrants, refugees, and others, and trying to suppress votes. We should all be proud in this room because we are, as the Reformed Jewish Movement, plaintiffs in a different lawsuit challenging the executive order that seek to rescind the secure, safe locations policy, which would take away our right as synagogues, as congregations, to provide sanctuary, not just sanctuary for migrants and refugees and strangers, as my grandma Fanny at 16 found sanctuary here in the United States, but for all people to find sanctuary to do what we do, which is provide a safe space to be a Jew. I'm so proud of our movement for being a plaintiff in that lawsuit. The hearing was today. Many of you worked together with Rabbi Hirsch. How many of you were at the vigil last night? So this is again another opportunity where we can stand up, speak out. Wait, hold on, we got the order wrong. Wait, help me. No, I'm sorry. Got to get this right. We got to stand up, step forward, speak out. There you go. So we've seen the ways in which the administration has sought to weaponize the government against those who don't conform to its worldview, scapegoating, dehumanizing immigrants, people of color, trans people, transgender people, other marginalized groups to justify their draconian and unconstitutional policies, dismantling the fundamental domestic and international programs, consolidating authority. The list goes on. You read the news, you know what I see. And of course, the pardons of the J6 violent insurrectionists, who are the real direct and violent threat to democracy, and of course, because they're anti-Semitic, to Jews as well. As Reformed Jews, we're guided by our history and our values, and we know that 200 years of this experiment of American democracy is what has kept us safe, and not only safe, but enabled us to flourish. And so we have a collective responsibility as we stand up, step forward, and speak out to say, we will not sit idly by while our government and our courts assault our reproductive rights and our freedom of choice. We will not sit idly by while our neighbors are arrested, sometimes by plainclothes government agents, and deported to inhumane foreign prisons without due process. We will not sit idly by, particularly when it is done in the name of keeping Jews safe. Anti-Semitism is real. Anti-Semitism is real, it's serious, and needs a serious response, not some kind of rounding up of people without due process. We will not sit by while the constitutional separation of powers is undercut by an administration that ignores the courts and withholds congressionally allocated funds from everyday people who need them. We will not sit idly by while the Congress and administration strip trillions of dollars from critical hunger, healthcare, and other funding, people who need that funding and support. We won't sit idly by while the administration attempts to circumvent the law to shut down the Department of Education and the Department of Civil Rights in the Department of Education that is actually charged with investigating the anti-Semitism on campuses. If we're serious about investigating the actual anti-Semitism on campuses, then you wouldn't got the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Education. And we won't sit idly by while this administration leads an attack on, everybody say, diversity. Everybody say equity. Everybody say inclusion. We're not going to allow them to vilify and demonize and caricaturize what means every person in this room who shares an experience of being from a marginalized background to actually belong. That's what DEI actually is about. And we will not sit idly by while the administration excludes and marginalizes our trans children, our trans family, our trans people. No, no, women of Reformed Judaism, because we are like Noah. We are going to stand up, step forward, speak out. Stand up, step forward, speak out. And when we do, God is going to say, our claim is just. Shabbat Shalom. I love you. I love you.